Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon, and welcome. Welcome to CK Stories from the Heart. I'm your host, Charles Zachary King, and if you found your way here today, I want you to know that was not an accident. That was an appointment. See, this show was born out of a conviction, a deep, unshakable conviction that every single person walking this earth carries a story inside them the world needs to hear. Not the polished version, not the highlight reel, the real story. The one written in tears and triumphs, the valleys and victories, in the places where faith met the fire and held on. Today's episode is built around a theme that I believe will change someone's life before we're done. Winning together, faith, healing, and community leadership. We're talking about transformation. We're talking about the courage it takes to walk through your darkest night and come out the other side carrying a torch for somebody else. And there's no better person to carry that torch into the conversation than today's guest. He is a man who looked depression in the face and didn't blink. A man who walked through the valley of addiction, health crises, and personal devastation and chose to let God turn every broken piece into a blueprint for purpose. He is a pastor, a life coach, a nonprofit founder, a finance executive, and a living testimony that your worst chapter is not your final chapter. Ladies and gentlemen, family, please help me welcome to CK Stories from the Heart, Leonard Irvin Jr. Hello, sir.
Hello, how you doing, Mr. King?
I am doing just excellent. Thanks for being here.
Oh, I'm excited to be here. I had to sit there for a minute, like, man, he talking about me. I never heard such a great introduction like that. I appreciate you.
Oh, yes. What would you like to say to our audience before we start?
Uh Sit back. I pray that I leave a blessing and deposit a nugget in a very, raw, truthful, authentic way on today.
Well, I want to tell you, I'm glad that you're here and I'm ready to dive into your story. And before we get into it, I just want to say to everyone that's on and that's watching the show at this point, I want to tell you, I thank you for your time. I appreciate you being here. And today's inspiration is definitely something that I think you guys should hear. So let's start. And let me just ask you, Leonard,
Yes, sir.
you grew up in Cleveland, Ohio, a
hmm
city with a rich but often tough spirit. What was life like growing up there, and how did that environment begin to shape the man you would eventually become?
Man, life in Cleveland was interesting now that I'm an adult and I look back on it and I realized that at a very young age, I knew there was something special about me because I even started my own, I guess, a community store because it was right in the community. And I'll tell you a little funny thing. I actually had named it the HNIC store because Lean on Me was my favorite movie and inspired by Joe Clark. And so I realized that I wanted more, but never really knew that it was possible. Always had dreams of being a big time, business executive. I grew up with my mom watching soap opera. So I was kind of like enamored with Victor Newman off of The Young and the Restless, just being like a business tycoon. And so those are some of the highlights, but also what I learned in Cleveland that, uh, life and the devil, Satan himself, wanted to keep me in a place of poverty and keep me in a place of not feeling whole or adequate, unfortunately, that led me to the powerful story that I'm end up telling in a little bit.
Okay. And when you think back on your younger years, who were the people or experiences that most powerfully formed your character? Was there a defining moment in your childhood or adolescence that you now recognize as foundational?
Yeah, growing up, I didn't have a whole lot of what we would say like inspirational people. I looked at, typical basketball, football sports, and you kind of cling and admire to them. But like in my immediate purview, I wouldn't say that I had a positive mentor, but what I did have was a lot of drugs, a lot of gangs, a lot of murder, a lot of crackheads, and we used to call them fiends back in the day. And I always just looked at them, and even in my own family, unfortunately, I had people that never made the right choices or the good choices. So I saw a lot of what I know I didn't want.
Mhm.
And I was able to look at that and say, hey, I want to be the one that does something better. I had a little bit more of like internal inspiration, naturally cut from another cloth, as we like to say, that really allowed me to move into my purpose.
Mhm. So you pursued a BA in information technology and then an MBA in finance.
Mhm.
That's fascinating intellectual journey.
Yes.
But what was driving you academically, and how did that educational path connect to your broader sense of purpose?
Well, I'm the first person in my family to ever graduate with a 4-year degree. So I've kind of like always had like this drive to want to be different. And so when I accomplished that feat, the opportunity opened up for me to pursue higher and like even go further and allow, my cousins and everyone else in the family to know that, hey, even though we grew in the inner city, grew up in a community that they call the ghetto, the hood, you know what I'm saying? That I always loved education, always been good at math, just like a natural geek for math. And just, I'm doing accounting now. And so I learned that I can like focus on what I need to focus on and not be distracted. You know what I'm saying? I went to school 2 summers straight. Something I never thought I would be able to do at 19 and 20. Went to summer school so I can finish my undergrad degree in 3 years, whereas it typically takes you 4. So I've always been like willing to go the extra mile without even understanding the impact it was going to have later in my life.
Wow. So, in doing while you're in school and you're now going hiring and getting your MBA,
Hmm.
and that's you said in finance, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And so in doing that, how do you resonate that today with how things started in the beginning that's made you the outstanding individual that you are today?
I got a thing that I like to say: you got to be trainable and teachable. And I feel like because I love to learn and I'm okay with being like corrected or, reprimanded or being rebuked, is actually so those things historically always make people shy away or want to stop or want to throw in the towel. Is like I put on my big boy underwear. I would say big girl panties, big boy underwear, and did what I needed to do, even though it hurt, even though it didn't feel good at the time. It pushed me into a place where I knew I wanted to come out of poverty, and I knew I wanted to. I grew up without having, central air. I grew up without having, we had a bad infestation of roaches in our house and rats at one time. So it's just all these things I've actually endured, but I always just wanted something more. Again, not knowing that it was possible until we're at today.
Wow. So when did faith enter your life in a real and personal way? Not just religion or church attendance, but a genuine, living faith. Was there a moment, a person, or a season that opened that door for you?
Yes, I remember when I had so I'm originally from Cleveland, Ohio, as you said earlier, but I had went to school in Columbus, Ohio for DeVry and for DeVry University. And I remember early on, I think maybe after like my first year, my mom had an episode where she was having a relapse of her own mental illness that she was dealing with. And I was in a debacle or topsy turvy, or I was in between about, do I go back home and kind of help out my siblings that I had kind of left in Cleveland as they were helping my mom go through her mental condition? Or do I stay in faith and believe God was going to do a miracle while I was still pursuing my academics? and I chose the higher road. And that's when I really was like activated in faith at that time, believing that God can do the impossible without me actually being in the vicinity of the situation.
Wow. So, so to say, as we get through to this point,
Mhm.
can you tell us what what is your motivation? What is it that makes Leonard do the things that he does?
I had to find something deep within me to make me believe for more than just the crumbs. I was doing all the academics. I had went and got the two, degrees, but it was still something more that had not been unearthed in me, that I was still seeking something. It's like I always felt like I was seeking an answer. I was seeking more about the dreams and about the passion, about the things that was even on my heart. So, me being able to accept that I wasn't everything that I knew that I could be is what really led me into depression.
Wow. Let's take a transition over to the dark valley.
Yes, sir.
Um, so there came a season when things began to unravel.
Yes.
Can you take us back to when you first started to feel the ground shifting beneath you, and what did that early unraveling look like from the inside?
Well, unfortunately, it took me 10 years to realize that the ground had sunken in. Life was life. And then I remember at the age of 30, hanging around and hanging out with people that, that didn't have the best interest for me. And I succumbed to, peer pressure. And I realized out of that peer pressure that I actually had low self esteem because I was trying to identify with labels from the world and from um, low self esteem mindset, lack of identity that we would ascribe to ourselves. So I have spent 10 years just circling around in the wilderness, out in the streets, living in the world, partaking in activities and habits that was not ordained or um, God given that He would want me to participate in. From the drinking, from doing the drugs, and just hanging out and to bringing the wrong people.
So just so in that whole process,
Mhm.
like when you realized this, what like started to change? What was some of the things that you noticed and realized that you had to change?
It was like I would think I was almost like 38. I was about 38 when like one day I just realized and woke up one day like, man, do you like see your life? It was like I had a come to myself moment, come to Jesus moment. It's like I was kind of experiencing like some like deja vu, like you got to remember something about yourself. And then I started looking back like, man, you ain't did X, you ain't did Y, you ain't did Z. Like what happened to all these goals that you had when you was 18, 21? You was gonna be this type of person, you was gonna have this set up. And it was like that bothered me, that scared me, that reality, it like made me paranoid because I realized, man, here you are like 8 years distracted, 8 years not in alignment, 8 years with anger, 8 years with frustration, 8 years with you being codependent on things and codependent on people that you don't need to be codependent on. That I had a breakdown. I really did. I had a mental breakdown because I didn't know how to get out of it. I didn't even realize how deep I had got myself into what I had got myself into, that it was like, oh man, you're a failure. You hear what I'm saying? It's like I threw out all the degrees and all the other accomplishments and the rewards and stuff that I had made. And it was like I just hit rock bottom because I realized, or I felt at that time, that there was no value in me still.
Wow. You've been open about your battle with depression and alcohol abuse that makes tremendous courage to name publicly. Can you describe what that darkness actually felt like from the inside? What it was doing to your mind, your relationships, and your sense of self?
Whew. It was a void. I can't act like there was any love there because it wasn't. I was void. I was empty. I was interesting. I was warm for everybody else, but
Mhm.
I was cold for me.
Wow.
I'm gonna say that again. I feel like somebody need to hear that again. I was warm for everybody else, Mr. Charles, but I was cold for me, meaning that my heart was pouring out and trying to still show up and be there for everybody else's transaction, everybody else, um, events, programming, like whatever. I was still even ministering, and at that time, I was heavy in the prison ministry, still going there and still pouring out and just pouring out. But I was pouring out from an empty vessel. I was pouring out from a dark, barren place that really had no fruit in it.
Mhm.
And that made me feel even worse about who I was and about who I had become. That the depression had got so bad that I was now in a place like, okay, do I really feel like I can handle this deck of cards that I have? Or man, you just go ahead on and give it up. You know what I'm saying? The devil was talking to me like, you this and you that, you a failure, like, you're a dirty black man, you a poor black, all those criticisms that we accept.
Wow.
Yeah. All those criticisms that we accept in the society, they were feeding my mind. They were feeding my false self. They was feeding that identity that I never ever allowed
Mhm.
pure unconditional love to flow into me. So I was like holding a reservoir in me that was full of just dirty water, full of just spoilage and just full of just bacteria and waste. Thank you, Holy Spirit. Waste that did not need to just be settled in me. It was so much decay in me that I did not even want to live anymore. I
Wow.
wanted to end it all. I want that pain went through my body so thick and so heavy, and it was raging in my heart. I had a broken heart about myself, and
Wow.
did not even know how to get the courage, who to turn to, because I had so much shame at this particular point. I've done all that I knew to do, and I had created this false identity for everybody else. Yeah,
Man.
everybody just looked at me like, "Oh, Linda, you the strong one. Oh, Lynn, you the strong one. You can take this, you take that, you can do all that." But it was an image that was never really my roots,
Wow.
because it was an image that was good for somebody, and because it was an image that I did not have the roots for, the
Right.
system had to collapse. So when I was there contemplating suicide, that's when the system had collapsed.
Ooh, I tell you, you know something. It takes a strong person and a resilient person to to come through this. And I honestly, and as I hear you speak about that, you can see. I don't know what things were looking like before,
Yes, sir.
but I see that spirited light, that shines brightly.
Thank
And
you.
so, if you can tell some about people in our audience, because I'm sure that maybe there's somebody else that's probably going through that same thing.
Mhm.
How do they get through this kind of pain, this kind of situation? What would you think that they should do to first start to think about these things?
I think for me, my biggest thing was pride. Pride. And pride is when we keep the sunglasses on, even though we know ain't no sunshine outside. Pride is when you have created this illusion and this story that you keep feeding yourself that has no truth or merit to it. And when you can acknowledge that, because a lot of people get stuck there, Charles, they get stuck at the place where they don't even see that pride has come into them. So that's why you can keep talking to a person 1,020 times over and over, and they never see it. They never get it because they can't admit that they got pride. And pride is just about you don't have the strength to acknowledge the truth. And sometimes that truth gotta cut you. Sometimes that truth feel like it's embarrassing you. Sometimes that truth, I like this word, it'll expose you. Yeah, yeah. It expose you to you in the way that you really are, so that you don't feel like you showing up like this, but no, you showing up fragile. You showing up like fearful, you showing up paranoid, you showing up guarded. You know what I'm saying? That you really can't let what you are be in full development. So you got to first ask yourself, hey, do I got pride in me? And then the second thing I would say you got to do, if you really want to be about transformation and you really want to take what you have endured, what you have suffered, voluntarily or involuntarily, you got to be at peace with that is what your truth is.
Mm.
You got to be at peace that, hey, this is my reality. I was an addict at one time. I was a whore at one time. Oh, I was dysfunctional at one time. And I enjoyed being dysfunctional. And I enjoyed being chaotic. I enjoyed being just getting crumbs from the table. You know what I'm saying? That's the part you got to be willing to accept and acknowledge that that's where you at right there. Because when you can meet yourself right where you at, that's when you're on your way to transformation. When you can meet
Ooh.
yourself right where you know that you have been at, not where you thought you was at, not where you people can lie to you and pump your head up and deceive you too. No, it's about when you really come eye to eye with yourself and you see that you know what, I'm lying to myself. No, everybody taken from me, and then you realize that you just been like a flunky. You just been like this low wage earner in society and community that you just been giving and giving and giving, and all these smoochers and all these mosquitoes and all these ticks just sucking blood out of you and sucking your energy and sucking your worth and sucking your value out of it. But because you love people pleasing and because you need people to pat you on the back, knowing when you ain't living in your best place, you'll never get there. Yeah,
Wow.
you'll never get there. So I want the people that's listening, I want you to ask yourself, first of all, do I have pride living in my heart? And then after you answer that question, tell yourself, what's your real truth?
Wow. I mean, you know what? I love all that because, I've actually come across a lot of other people that I kind of like get that feeling and that vibe from them. That it's like, it's like all of a sudden they're becoming empty. And it's kind of like they're like just in the world.
Mm-hmm.
They're not a part of it, they're just in it. And so when I think about that, as you was just mentioning that, because that means that you got to love yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Tell them, how do they get to love themselves?
It's a process. The world teaches us, and this is the part I had to learn because I've been on this healing journey consistently now for 6 years. And it has taken me places, acknowledgement, growth that I never even knew that it was possible. But the main ingredient, and this what they don't teach us through K through 12, you see. And what they don't teach you, and a lot of homes ain't teaching it either, is that you gotta carry unconditional love. Not for nobody else, but for the one that you know is you. Yeah. It gotta be an internal thing. So that way, so as above, it is below. So that way, when you carry unconditional love, anybody else that you come in contact with, that you interact with, that you are being introduced to, you realize that I'm here not judging myself. And that's what we do. I was heavy in condemnation about myself. Even when I was trying to get better, condemnation, and then the devil himself coming, talking and whispering in my ear. And then you see people who benefited from you being at a low place, at a sunken place, at a place of not just winning, as you said today, about winning together. There are people that actually support you losing because it benefits from them that you never become anything greater than them. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's why addicts love hanging out with addicts. That's why alcoholics love hanging out with alcoholics, because we get to all keep being infested with each other and making each other feel comfortable and accepted in our own little group, our own little clique. And the minute you stop showing up at the meeting, the minute you stop going up to the trap house, the minute you stop calling the plug, everybody like, oh, well, what you doing? You'll be back. You'll be back at the bar. Also, I'll see you next week at the stool. Yeah, and then you'll find out that people never really had love for you. That's what they had. They was infatuated with your disability.
Oof.
I just said something. My God, the Lord is here now. Yes, you got to realize there are people that is infatuated with your disability. So there is no genuine care from them. There is no genuine love from them. And that's what I had. I had people that had been strategically placed around me that benefited from my disability, benefited that I had a mental handicap, that I had a social justice handicap, I had a financial handicap, I had a self awareness and self love handicap. But when I saw the light, I gotta stop.
Look, I gotta tell you, see that right there, that's putting it right there to the point, and I
Yes,
think that's something that everybody needs to understand. Oh my God, I'm so happy that you're here and you're telling this is because I know that there are a lot of people in our communities that are suffering in the same way, but don't know how to get out of it, don't know where to go to get some help. They just don't know what to do, and I'm glad that you're telling us this story today.
yes, sir. I'm glad to be here too.
You also experienced significant health declines during this period.
Yes,
How
sir.
did the physical deterioration compound what you were already experiencing emotionally and spiritually? How close did things get?
Oh, I was like, I had got very heavy. I was typically like, around, 33, 40 waist. And then I had got up to like a 42 and was just like big and just, spread. And, cholesterol was crazy. Blood pressure was crazy. Inflammation in my body was crazy. And I just did not like the way I was looking, you know, didn't have a whole lot of energy to be productive for myself. I was just running, trying to, fulfill the lust of the eyes, fulfill the lust of the flesh, and not really making my health a priority. That they were trying to put me on some other medication for my heart because my blood pressure wasn't getting regulated. Wanted to put me on something for my cholesterol, and then I started having back problems on top of that because I wasn't exercising, I wasn't walking, and I remember being just miserable. I just remember being miserable. It's like there was another layer of suffering that added to the disability, you know what I'm saying? The disability or the circumstances of me not knowing my self worth or my true identity, that now I got pain. I'm going back and forth to the doctor and paying, and now I'm increasing medical expenses that I couldn't afford at the time. So it was another layer of suffering that I had to endure as I was going through this situation.
Um, in your lowest moment, the absolute bottom,
Hmm.
what kept you from giving up entirely? Was there a voice, a memory, a flicker of something that refused to let you go? What was it?
It was during the pandemic, because even after I had been uh had did some time even into a rehab kind of mental health program, I still didn't stop then. It's funny how we'll have a crisis and you'll think that that crisis will be enough to kind of like make you do a turning point, or do, as we say, a 180, not a 360, but even do a 180. After I had that experience, it still took me like another year, but I was still fighting. I was still fighting. I was as I was one of those preaching drunks. You hear what I'm saying? That when I was drunk, I would still say, Lord, help me. Like, Lord, just take this taste away. Just saying it by faith, not knowing that, oh, one day this is really could be a possibility. So if you can ever just say something, say life while you're dealing with what you're dealing with, even if you don't even know how it's going to happen, I promise you, you're planting a seed in your future. But I remember it was during the pandemic. And I sat there and just looking back, like, man, uh you got a counselor now. You had said you was gonna stop drinking. You went through this program and they had kind of worked with you. And it was like I felt and saw myself going right back to where I was before I had started the treatment program. And I finally surrendered. That's what I surrendered to my God. I surrendered to the Holy Spirit. I surrendered to the person of Jesus Christ. And I remember I got down on my knees. I got down on my knees and I told God, I said, God, I don't know how you're going to make this right. I told God, I don't know how you're going to heal me. God, I said, God, I don't know how You're going to help me. Everything is against me. Life, society, my skin color, everything is against me. But I just cried out to the Lord that night. And I asked him if he just would help me not to take my life that night. If he would just help me to keep holding on to something bigger, something gooder can come. And that night, the Lord visited me in a dream in a powerful way because I had cried out of everything that I had lost, everything that I thought I wanted. I was willing to let it all go if I just allowed my heart to open up and allow Christ to come in more and do what he said he would do. What did he say he would do? He said, I will finish the work that I started in you. It was a good scripture. I always liked it, but I ever knew that it could come alive. I never knew that that scripture can get some bones on it and get some breath on it and get some tendons and some ligaments and get some flesh and some blood flowing through it. But it did. And so that was my turning point. When I surrendered it all and I took the mask off my face, my father's children, you got to be willing to take the mask off. When you have your private moment time with God, that's where you can be who you really are, unashamed, unapologetically, that you can give your raw, true, authentic self, because that's the person, the real you is waiting to meet.
Wow. Oh, that was full. Mm. Let's let's go to the turning point.
All right.
Let's go to the turning point. Every great transformation has a turning point, a moment or a season where the trajectory shifts. What was that for you? Was it sudden, like a lightning bolt, or a gradual, like a slow dawn breaking? What was it?
It was that dream. So after I had that encounter where I had laid down everything and I went to sleep that night, and in the dream, I was like in a emergency room. It was like powerful 3D. And in that dream, there was doctors and nurses that was looking over me. And then when I had looked to the right, I saw an enemy that had been chasing me. And that enemy was defeated in the dream. And then when I looked to the left, I saw a whole new image of myself that I had never ever saw before. And in that dream, the Lord had visited me and healed me and delivered me because I surrendered and cried out fervently. Yeah. It says the effectual, fervent prayer of the righteous. See, it wasn't about that I was still dirty and still need to be cleaned up. I was right because I accepted by faith what God said that I really was. And so the Lord honored that. And when I woke up that next morning, it wasn't until about 12 o'clock, 12 noon. Thank you, Lord, for apostolic government. It wasn't until 12 noon that I realized that he had taken the taste out of my mouth in one night, in one moment of interaction with him. Because I would normally wake up and have to have a black and mild every day. That's how bad my nerves was. I had to have it. And I was walking around the house and everything. I'm like, oh my God, wait a minute. You ain't even craving that thing no more. Yeah. Got so stressed, I was buying singles, even smoking cigarettes. That's how bad my nerves had got. The cigarette desire had gone. Yeah. The desire to even drink was gone in an instant. That God had taken the taste away. He had honored my surrender. And I was like, wow, I can't believe I'm done. And that was the moment that ignited the passion of my transformation.
How did you encounter healing, both spiritually and physically? Walk us through that process, actually, what it actually looked like, and who or what was the instrumental part in your restoration.
I this is what I had to realize, and I want to let all the listeners know this. They taught us something wrong as a kid. And they made you think that you only needed a village as a kid. Because they say it takes a village to raise a kid. But what they did not tell you is that even as an adult, you still need a village. You still need a support system and people that have no investment or investment in you besides seeing that you win. It ain't about them trying to take, it ain't about them trying to sell you anything, ain't about you trying to purchase anything from anybody. But it was when I realized that I still needed a team, I still needed a village. And through prayer and asking the Lord, and I had to get a counselor. So yeah, get you a counselor. I always encourage men to keep you a counselor. Yeah, don't just go because you got one situation. No, go, especially if you're a person of color in the climate that we're living in. The major thing that Satan always wants us to die from is a heart attack. And that ain't nothing from you dying from a broken, unhealed heart. So we got to get back to letting people know, especially men of color, that you can talk about life in a safe place and not feel like you are off or you're weird or all the other low level labels that we take on to never ever feel like we can see and be our true authentic self. So I started reading books. I started talking to people. I started paying for life coaches. So I really just opened myself up to, again, being trainable and teachable because I ain't never been here before.
So, as you say that, I mean, what are some other suggestions you can make to men of color? Especially when it comes down to these situations, as you mentioned before, which is so true in our community.
Mhm.
Not wanting to talk about those feelings, what you're feeling, the emotions, things of that nature. What can you suggest that they do to, at least when they think it's happening, to do something about it or to get ahead of what may be to come?
I think, especially with the climate we got going on and a lot of things you're seeing constantly about how we are being abused on the streets, by law enforcement or different agencies, and how um, it always seems like every year we're fighting the same fight for rights and liberties. That I feel like when you go within, and that's the part the world, the matrix doesn't want you to know, is that you got to learn how to silence that noise. And I'm not saying that you turn in the other cheek, but what I am saying is that if every time you are emotionally or psychologically intertwined with chaos that the media and the government and institutions that are supposed to protect your civil liberty, and you realize that is not happening, you have to then internalize what you know about yourself. And sometimes what you know about yourself will never ever be said on a news outlet. It'll never ever be said or written in a newspaper. It'll never ever be said on a reel or a social media post. So that's when you have to come and understand that you are beautifully and wonderfully made in the likeness of your creator. That you can drown that noise out so that your life does not become a statistic, because that's all it's really about. Satan just want men, especially black men, he just want us to be a statistic of what we could have been and what we never did get, and how we still have not, risen up to the place of elevation where we know that we can be in this society as a class of people. So you got to be willing and you got to be bigger than the hype that you're being told, and realize that, oh, what they're saying on that TV screen, what they're putting in the paper is nothing but propaganda. And you got to stop drinking the Kool-Aid. But it takes courage to do that. See, it takes courage to not become infused with what the world is telling you on a city, state, or even a national level, because it's going around everywhere.
How did your faith itself transform during this season of healing? Did your understanding of God, of prayer, and of your identity in Christ deepen or change in ways you didn't expect?
It deepened because what I thought faith was for, I wasn't using it to its maximum benefit. You know, faith just go to work, faith just to, be the typical 9 to 5. But the faith I have now has catapult me into being a transformative leader. The faith that I have now have me believing for a big international vision that I'm creating called the community of wellness. The faith that I have now understands that, oh, I walk in power, I walk in authority, I walk in being able to relate to everybody. Yeah, because everybody got a story. And because I can hear and I can listen, oh, that makes me powerful. So my faith now is I can listen to what you don't realize nobody else will want to listen to you from or listen to you about. Yeah. I'm that guy. Yeah.
Um, what did it feel like emotionally, spiritually, and physically to step out on the other side and finally walk in wholeness? Is there a word or an image that captures that moment for you?
Yeah. I'm gonna keep it real. It's scary. And it's scary because this, and I see visions of myself at times. It's like I'm like this new puppy, that finally opens up his eyes and like it goes outside for the first time because I've had a dog and I've done this before. And it's like you're just looking around and just, sniffing the air and trying to, discern what is this and what's happening. And so that's the part where you take your innocence back. You don't allow the transformation to scare you, but you get the innocence of your childhood that was taken away. And this is how you know the innocence of your childhood has been taken away because you got fear. See, because you got fear living in you, the innocence of your childhood was taken away. And so, because that innocence was taken away, now you're scareful. Now you're fearful. Now you timid. Now you shy. Yeah. I don't know where we get that word from, but yeah, all those things that would keep you from evolving, I had to realize no longer is my portion, no longer is my inheritance. You see what I'm saying? So because I got unconditional love, I'm okay with taking that little first step with it feeling like unknown. You see, when you moving in faith, and that's what we understand about faith. Faith is gonna be a little scary because you ain't never done it before. Only way you remove and actually you always gonna feel a little tipply, a little wibbly, or a little wobbly when you do anything new that you've not done. That's what they don't teach you either. So
Right.
it's always a constant reminder that hey, I'm doing this out of my true self, out of my unconditional love. So whatever, look, just like even before I came on here today, I had to get my inner strength because this is part of my experience for me and letting me know, hey, your story belongs to be told to somebody.
Yep.
And I had to silence that little nervousness, that wanted to come up and say, hey, we doing this today. This is our inheritance.
Yes, sir. Let's talk about a little bit about your calling and your leadership.
Yes.
Um, you're now an ordained pastor.
Yes.
How did you step into that calling? Was pastoral ministry something you always sensed, or did it emerge directly from your journey through the valley?
Oh no, I not want to be a pastor. I am not one of them guys. No, I was not trying to be a pastor. I wasn't trying to do any of that. I had seen what my pastor, my bishop had went through, and I had no desire whatsoever to be a pastor. But it was out of my love for myself that I realized that if I'm going to thrive and come out of just being a survivor. Because a lot of times we just want to stay in survival mode.
Right.
Never want to uh transpose that survivor into something greater. You see what I'm saying? And I want it to be more than just purpose. Because that's, we can all find purpose from what we did. But no, I wanted to create something that will allow other people to benefit from my experience that I've had uh, on a personal level of self discovery and self love, and also on a spiritual level of knowing Christ deeper than just the church and deeper than just organized religion. because I had already did that, and that didn't get me nowhere. You hear what I'm saying? It was in the church that I was doing what I was doing. You see what I'm saying? It was in the church that I failed. You see, it was in the church that I backslid. You see what I'm saying? And why was that? Because it wasn't giving me all of what I knew that I was. You see? Yeah. I had a mind, I had a heart, I had a purpose, I had goals, I had wisdom, I had intellect. You see what I'm saying? I had something that somebody else was waiting on, and I didn't even know.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's why I do what I do. And that's why I'm adamant about it, because I realize that my goal, my purpose, my ability to carry the torch is so that other people can see, hey, you got a torch too. We ain't no gatekeeper here. No, I'm trying to get other people that have let the torch been blown out, blew out, ain't got no more oil in the lampstand, to tell you, hey, I know that's what they told you. And I know that's what you bought into. And I know that's what you believe. But there is a man walking the earth named Leonard Milton Irvin Jr. that has been at rock bottom and ain't had nobody. But because I found enough strength to call on something higher than I myself, I can now tell you that you can create a legacy. I can now tell you that you can create empowerment. I can now tell you that you can build something in the earth that'll last longer than you, because you've done more than just told your story, but you're putting your story into action and creating avenue and curriculums and teaching, so that people can understand why your path was your path and they can relate to it.
Right. Oh, wow. You're also a certified holistic life coach.
Yes.
What drew you to the holistic approach specifically, that mind body spirit integration, rather than a more traditional counseling or ministry model?
Because when I looked at my family and I looked at all the suffering that I endured, then I looked at all the generational curses and all the generational trauma, the sicknesses, the low self-esteem, the mental depression, the morbid, more morbid people that was in the family, and how we all at one point experienced some type of social injustice. And I'm just looking in my family. I ain't even looking across the street, nobody else's backyard. I'm just looking and being honest with what I had surveyed in my own family, with my own mother and my own father, with my own siblings, with my own aunts and uncles and cousins, everybody that be at the family reunion, you see. And I realized that, man, we've been suffering without even knowing we're suffering.
For
And
the
I looked and saw,
longest.
yeah, and I looked and saw, where was we suffering at? Oh, holistically. We never knew that there was 5 pillars of our life that embodies or encompasses you having a fulfilled life.
You're simultaneously a senior finance executive, a pastor, a life coach, and a doctoral student pursuing your doctorate in pastoral counseling. How do you hold all of that together without losing yourself? And what does your daily rhythm look like?
It has been one thing I had to learn, is that when you're coming out of toxicity and you're coming out of whatever you're coming out, and you really have a spiritual awakening, that you're trying to get yourself, you're the caterpillar. You go through your season of being a caterpillar. You're starting to wake up and move like in the green, the right way. And then there's a season where you got to go into the cocoon stage. And that's the stage where you got to really balance out everything now. That's why you got to bring everything now in harmony. And now you got to realize, hey, now I got to function in this new healed mind, this new healed heart, this new healed purpose. And you got to be willing to do it in a way that does not overwhelm the system. Because, see, you don't realize that they give us these computers and these phones and everything, but you're a whole system yourself too. That's how big and how powerful we are. That, yes, we're a system within a system. And I had to allow myself to pace that and not rush it. I feel like I came here to learn patience, because it has truly had a work in me that I can tell you now what you need to know. Yeah, you can't allow yourself to be rushed in it. And you may feel like you're not getting anywhere, but you got to tell yourself every day, I love you anyway.
Yeah.
You got to tell yourself, hey, uh, it's okay to take a break. It's okay to rest. And I think a lot of times because we're so trained to keep working, and when you're finally walking in purpose and walking in alignment and walking in identity, you realize, hey, there is no rush. That's the grace that you get because you have unconditional love. Because if you're not in a place where you are in control, and remember, I was pouring out empty. So my routine is all about being balanced and being present in the moment. And when I'm present in the moment, it makes me more aware of, is this the day to is this the day to fast? Is this the day to go walk outside in nature? Is this the day to spend longer in prayer? And filling out and allowing yourself to figure out what's your routine. Because I found this out. You can get bored doing it the same way at the same time for
All the
years.
time.
Yeah. So I've learned to be versatile with myself and adaptable, that I ain't so structured that, I used to have a thing where it's like always at 5 a.m. it was prayer. And then 6, I was going to the gym. And then by 7, it was like, hey, I got to switch this up. You know what I'm saying? Go to the gym first and then come back to prayer. But again, you got to come out of that spirit of religion, because that spirit of religion, I always want to feel like you got to have a certain format that mirrors what everybody else is doing, instead of learning how to trust your inner guide, your inner voice, and say, hey, let's do something different this month. Let's do something different this quarter. You see what I'm saying? So it's about you walking in balance. If you want to process, find out what's keeping you in balance with yourself. Balance meaning that you know that you're grounded, and you are filled up, and what you're pouring out is your overflow. That's balance. Blue rewind. I'm gonna say it again. Balance, my brothers and sisters, my father's children, is when you know your cup is filled and you're pouring out from that overflow. That's how you know that you're balanced. So all the stuff that you do, and I journal too. So we do journaling, we do fasting, we do prayer, we do nature walks, we do life coaching, we do counseling, and it's all stuff I do for me. You see what I'm saying? So that way I can look like I need to be, because I ain't got nobody. When you realize you're your greatest asset, and that's a word for somebody. Somebody needs to know you are your greatest asset. ASSET. Yeah. It can't be nobody else. And that's how valuable you are. That you're the main character, you're the main player, you're the superstar in your own story. And guess what? When you realize that you got this pen, you get to write every day what your day gonna look like. What does victory look like for you today? And sometimes it's you not even getting out of bed and just saying, you know what? Today is a day of rest.
Yeah, that is so true. Um, you carry the title apostle, a
Yes.
word that carries enormous weight in the faith community. What does that title mean to you personally, not just theologically, but in how you actually live it out every single day?
That's a good question, because I never knew I was an apostle. I did. Again, I told you, I ain't want the pastor, and I surely did not want no apostle. And, uh, but again, out of self discovery and listening to God, and then God sending the right people to, send confirmation and a witness of what He wants to do in my life, I've learned that the apostleship is about you stewarding, is about stewardship. The apostleship is about how you steward the gifts and the mantle and the calling and the weight that you have been given to not just do church work, but to really advance the kingdom in the earth. Yeah. And that advancing the kingdom, and what I'm doing is from a holistic perspective. Yeah. I'm more than just religious services, because I've done that before. So I don't believe in that. I tell people all the time, I don't have a church because I'm the church. I'm coming to you as the church. But what I do have is a kingdom work. I have a kingdom assignment. So I feel like the apostleship for me and for others that will listen to this, your job is to steward the grace and the assets and the funding and the revelation that mankind and humanity need to know really about what it means to be made in the likeness and the image of your creator.
Wow. Let's talk about your organization, Community of Wellness.
Yes, my baby.
Tell us about the founding of Community of Wellness. What was the God moment when you knew you were supposed to build this organization, and what needs were more were you responding to? What needs were you responding to with this when you built it?
When I first saw the vision for community wellness, it started off with me selling some health products. Because again, my health was in turmoil. I was trying to figure out what would be the best way to get me back, organically. I knew I didn't want to be on more medication. So my heart was open up to see what are some more natural ways, what are some more organic ways, some more ways that will not require me to be putting more pharmacia inside of me. And out of selling those products, I was originally wanting to help people get better in their physical health. And out of me talking with people, and people was, buying the products, and it was called It Works. And so I thought about it. I was like, man, that's very prophetic. It works. And the name came to me, community wellness, like community wellness. It works. Like, yes, because I was seeing and feeling like it will work for me. And out of it working for me, I started selling products and talking to other women, and they was buying it, and they was appreciating what I was doing. And it's like my heart saw like down the road, and I saw a center, a campus where people can come and truly embody everything that they're supposed to have, like in one place. That we deal with your physical health and community wellness. We deal with your mental awareness. We deal with your social justice. We deal with your spiritual encounters. You see what I'm saying? And all of that became like the brainchild, became like the birth of the vision to be the worldwide sanctuary for the family structure. And out of the family structure, I want to help people live in their authenticity. I want to help people live in a good body that is not rigged with a disease and viruses. Because when you have those things, you don't want to serve. Yeah. When your body is not in its best way, you're not activating that creativity and that imagination of you being able to see in the future
Mhm.
and establish something and build something that other people can collaborate and be part of, and the community can be strengthened too. So when I built community wellness, I saw people like you and I, Charles, that needed a place, a safe place. I saw women that had been battered and abused, and saw young people that have been neglected or molested or taken advantage of. Because I've been there before too. I understand all of that. So I saw a safe place where it could be a sanctuary, regardless of your color, regardless of what your economic status is, regardless of how you began. I wanted to show you how you can end totally contrary, totally opposite of what you thought it was going to be like.
Wow. Your motto is "I win when you win. Let's win together."
Yes.
That phrase is so alive. What does it mean in actual practice in the programs, the relationships, and the daily work of Community of Wellness?
That means that I understand that there's a part that I can play with you being an author, and understanding that in your authorship, you're going to need some supporting characters. So when I say I'll win, you win, let's win together, that's me making a plea. That's me making a call to action and saying, hey, I know you want to do something great. I know you want to be this person for your family. I know you want to be this type of king, this type of queen, this type of leader, this type of provider, this type of statesman, this type of general. And I believe that what I have been given to build and to birth and to put into the marketplace can help edge out and sharpen up and refine your own story, so that you can go out here knowing that you've been buffered and that you got a system and you got people and you got infrastructure and capacity, that what you start, it can be sustained and it ain't crumbling after a year. It ain't crumbling after 6 months. And then you'll also even get started, because some people never get started. It just always stay here. So the community of wellness is here to push you and to be your right hand to help you successfully implement holistic strategies for your life.
So, who does Community of Wellness serve, and what does that service look like on the ground? And when you close your eyes and you look 5 or 10 years into the future, what does the full vision of this organization look like?
Right now, um, we're serving the grandparents. And I had to realize, I had a couple, hiccups and bumps on my head to realize, like, okay, you have a vision, you know what you want to do, but it's like, what's the roadmap? What's the path to get there? And so I'm very passionate about, men's ministry, men's health, men getting themselves back into where they're supposed to be in the family structure, because we are or have been removed from that role of leadership in the family, in the community. We ain't at the table where decisions need to be made or policies are written up about us. So what I've started doing is working with the grandparents and getting them, because grandma, grandpa, they hold the family together.
Yes, they do.
And so I'm pouring into grandparents right now and building them up and showing what role they play in restoring the family unit, so they can have their legacy intact, so they can have their lineage intact, so that way we can then go to uh the young woman that's out here struggling with what she wants to be and struggling with what does a woman look like that is sanctified, a woman that is virtuous in 2026, because we got a lot of images that doesn't kind of like meet the bar, and the bar has been raised so low that women are categorically tired, that they just letting whatever go on amongst each other and don't really have nothing to say that will bring uh the woman back into alignment where she even wants to be a mother. Yeah. And so we're going from the grandparents to the women. And then after that, I'm going after the men, because I'll have the infrastructure and the capacity that to be able to hold the foundation as we reel these men in, not for a church experience, but for a holistic experience, one that encompasses all of what you are, and not just telling you that you're just this and that you can't be that too. Yeah, that you can be successful in a spiritual standpoint. You can be successful as a family man and as a leadership in the marketplace, whatever it is that you want to do, so that you can be an entrepreneur, that you can be a business owner. So in the fullness of time, I saw that there was campuses for each one of our 5 pillars that we have. There was a campus for the physical health, a campus for the social justice, and you come there to learn, and you come there to be an activist, not for nobody else, but for your own life, so that way you can leave out of this off of this campus and go out and make impact. I'm here to make impact with leaders. I'm here to raise up other leaders that never knew there was leadership potential in them. And so we got this big old campus, and then we're coming together as a community. We're coming together as a family, dealing with whatever it is that has been taken or robbed out of the family, that all these bad habits and all these curses and all these isms and lies that's been passed down from generation to generation. No, we are disrupting that here in the community of wellness. Yeah. We getting our clap back, we're getting our fight back, and we're understanding that we ain't scared to have a big vision. And that's what I want people to be able to be at peace with dreaming big and thinking big, because it's enough that we ain't got to have a crab barrel mentality, that we all feel like we all can eat, we all can glow up and blow up, and then still have enough in our storehouse that something can be left for generations to come after us. That's the future of community wellness. That's what I'm building right now, and that's what I'm doing in the meanwhile.
Wow, I love that because in having that layered structure, and
Hmm.
I'm assuming that when you visualize this like 5, 10 years down the road, like how do you visualize this looking at that point? Because I think as you start to build, especially with the different structures that you want to do, especially for the different groups, the men group, the ladies groups, and so forth,
Hmm.
how is that? What is that going to look like 5, 10 years down the road?
I hope in 10 years, shoot, we lease in like 12 states.
Oh wow, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
I want to have this model so locked in that it can be like how they do McDonald's or H&R block, that they got the base model, and now that model can go to every community that is underserved, every community that has been overlooked, every community that has been rejected or put into an incubation, that
Hmm.
ever flow and thrive, that we become that bridge, we become that system that people can come out of the matrix and everything that's fallen and false about this world, all over the world.
Wow. Well, I like that. So let's go to here. My final question for you is I want to ask you about your legacy and your closing wisdom. Leonard, we're coming to the close of our conversation, and I want to give you the full floor. Three-part question.
All right.
What do you want your legacy to be when all is said and done? What is one word, just one of wisdom for someone sitting in their darkest valley right now? And what is the message you want to leave with every person in the CK Stories family watching or listening today?
Okay. Huh. Loaded. But I love that. uh, for me, when I think about legacy, and that's another reason why I'm like adamant about my physical health, is because I want to see the fruit of my labor. Not that I'm sitting at the top, or not that I'm even in charge, but I build it up so that I can see how other people were able to take it on and take it over and keep it going. That there is a transitional leadership for what I'm doing. That's the legacy that I want. I want it to be that, oh, I founded this, I established it, but I knew how to open it up and allow other people to come sit at the table.
Mhm.
And that it went to where it needed to go, not even on a national level, even international. I got a lot of people in Pakistan and different places in Africa that needs community wellness. So my legacy is that I want to be that I learn how to empower people by creating empowered communities. And then your question about wisdom, and somebody that's in a
Their
dark,
darkest moment. Their darkest moment.
and I think you said you want a one word, one word that I will want a person to know: love. That is the one word that I will give someone, that no matter where you may be at, whatever cage you may be in, whatever uh, trial, tribulation, you may even be in the doctor hospital right now listening to this. But the one word I want you to hold on to, the one word I want you to digest and let it be a part of you, even if you don't know how that's going to look like, but get started, is love. LOVE. And then my final message that I will want somebody to know, and I think this is the message that this is the message that I would want myself to know. And this is the message that I wish I had known this a long time ago. And this is what I want you to know. I want you to know you are worth being made whole. That's the message. You are worth it. Not, and this is what we do. We see it for everybody else. Oh yeah, bless them. You want them to have that, but I want you to know as an individual, based on your own social security number, based on your own birthday, based on your own name, that you are worth being made whole. And whatever that takes, and no matter how long it takes, and no matter how many hiccups and setbacks and trials you got to go through to get to where you want to be, do not give up on your dream. Do not give up on that thing that you thought about when you was 10, 11, 12, before life had started lifing, before you even knew about all the dysfunction that you may have been born into, and then you didn't realize or understand that you was like the generational curse breaker. I want you to know that you are worth being made whole, and you are worth the investment. You are worth whatever it takes, and whatever you got to cut out, whatever you got to let go. Because when you let go, what does not serve your purpose or serve your highest good, the one that I fell in love with, the one that controls the wind of the sea, the one that makes you the head and not the tail, the one that'll raise you up to be the lender and not the borrower, the one that'll take you on a journey of transformation, that you'll come out flying high like an eagle. You'll come out flying high, transforming, looking good like a butterfly. You'll come out with so much courage like a lion. You'll come out with so much perseverance like a beaver, that you can build up everything that you thought was taken away. That's the message I want you to leave here with, knowing that you are worth being made whole. Thank you, Brother Charles, for having me on here today. I pray that something I have said and released upon this platform, upon your podcast, has been a blessing to you. I just pray that God continue to strengthen you. I just pray God continue to give you the wisdom that you need to bring all the expansion. And I just pray that God meet the needs of the budget for your expansion. I see there's some things that you want to do for yourself, and you're looking at budgets and numbers, but I come as a messenger and I leave this blessing to you, that everything that you want, every desire that you have, it shall be fully funded, and you will not have to go into debt, EBT, to do what you want to do for the community. Yes, and I see the Lord saying that there is more help coming to help you move further in the vision. Yes, there are people that are coming to help expand the work that you are doing, and I'm so grateful to God that He has allowed our path to cross, because I'm excited about your future. I'm excited about what you have done, and I'm excited that you took a chance on a black man called Leonard Irvin Jr., that you would share your platform with me. I'm so honored and blessed by this opportunity. You have no idea yet the impact that you made on me today. I love you, brother.
Look, and I love you too, and I'm just like, oh, this was really powerful. In close, well, after I close the show, do you have a few minutes to stick around?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I want to thank each and every listener that's been here today, that's listened to the show and has taken part in what we've done today. You've heard Leonard's story. This is what CK Stories from the Heart is about. This is about, that safe space that's been created to give all of the people that's got a voice in that story to tell, to come here and to tell your story. This is what I think people need to get. This is what people in our community need to understand, that when it comes down to it, we've got to be there for each other, and we have to continuously build and unification. In closing, I want to say this. I want to do this monologue. Leonard, on behalf of every person watching and listening right now, thank you. Thank you for your honesty. Thank you for your courage. Thank you for refusing to let your pain be the final word in your life. What you share today is not just your story. It is a mirror for someone out there who needed to see their own reflection and realize there is a way through. That is the power of authentic storytelling. That is why CK Stories from the Heart exists, not to entertain, to transform, not to impress, to connect.
Yes.
Every valley you described, someone in this audience has lived. Every victory you claimed, someone out there is still fighting to reach. And because of today, they know it is possible. I want you to speak directly to you, friend. Yes, you. Wherever you are right now, your story is not over. Your darkest chapter is not written in the ending. There is a Leonard in all of us, and there is a wholeness available to all of us. Reach for it. If this episode blessed you, and I believe it did, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs to hear it today. Your share could be the lifeline somebody is waiting for. I'm your host, Charles Zachary King, and this has been CK Stories from the Heart. Until next time, keep telling your story, keep walking in your purpose, and remember, every story matters, every life counts. This is your story. God bless you. We'll see you next time. Y'all have a great evening. We'll see you next Sunday. And I thank you all.